All right, we are live after a 27-20 loss for the Cleveland Browns against the New York Jets in the potential number one pick bowl of the whole NFL regular season. The 2-6 Cleveland Browns walking into MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and playing the 1-7 New York Jets. And I don't think either of these teams really wanted to win this football game. I know the Browns didn't. Maybe the Jets were trying, maybe Aaron Glenn, let's pick this up for, victory morale and everything of that nature. Did the play calling look any better? Kevin Stefanski gives the keys over to Tommy Rees. Don't even care. Could really care less about it. Dillon Gabriel, not very good. We're going to get to his stat line here shortly. You need to move on. You need to consider starting Shedeur Sanders this week and give him the first team reps. Who cares at this point? You're already so far into the tank. It doesn't really matter. What has Dillon Gabriel been able to show you in these handful of games that he's started where you sit there and go, oh yeah, his processing is there. I say this every week on the show. Oh, he just needs a lot more reps and this and that. And yes, is he not getting help from his offensive line? Does he not have a good wide receiving core? Those aren't the problems. He's scrambling for his life on a lot of plays. Yes, that's going to be any quarterback behind this offensive line for this year and for all in considerations next year as well. Does anybody think that the offensive line is just going to be magically fixed in one offseason? I guess I'd be surprised. It'd be a fun surprise, but this team needs 5 new offensive linemen. Maybe four at the very minimum. Do they not? The only person I think that you're going to see next year maybe be on this offensive line and actually healthy and ready to play is Wyatt Teller. I'm not seeing anybody else out there. That Bitonio's old. Bitonio's done after this season. He should have retired after last year. I actually feel bad for the guy because what a waste of waste your body for another year of this nonsense and this BS. Conklin, see ya. DeJuan Jones, injury prone. Cornelius Lucas, don't care. KT Leviston, terrible. Cam Robinson, terrible. Cam Robinson was terrible today. And it's like, I don't even care anymore. And I'm still, I can still tell that, these guys are horrible and this offensive line is in shambles every single play. They're missing assignments every single play. Imagine Quinshon Judkins behind even an average offensive line. He'd probably be the best running back in the league. He would probably be putting up Jonathan Taylor level numbers if he was behind an offensive line that didn't miss assignments. He still looks really good. He's one of the only bright spots of this roster. Him and Carson Schlesinger. Who else is there? There's nobody else. Dillon Gabriel, nothing there. Absolutely nothing. Even some of the passes that were completed today and, that went for touchdown passes, I'm sitting there and like, wow, that's just not promising. He barely looks like he could throw the ball 35, 40 yards downfield. 17 of 32, 167 yards and 2 touchdowns. We are stuck in this Kevin Stefanski offense where it's amazing to me. You watch some of these other games. You watch the Berlin game or you watch, the 425 games come on. You watch Sunday night, Monday Night Football. It's like you're not even watching the same sport. Our quarterbacks for years, multiple years at this point, starting with Deshaun Watson. We thought Deshaun Watson was the problem, which granted, he very well was. I come on here every week and say this, but the noise and the questions and did Kevin Stefanski ruin Deshaun Watson? You see it being talked about. You see it being talked about on X. You see it being talked about on YouTube. You can remove him from the equation and everything is still the same. Our quarterbacks cannot put up a good stat line to save their life. It does not matter who we're playing. It does not matter if we're playing the 1-6 Jets or if we're playing a team that's good like Detroit or, anybody, Green Bay, God forbid. Even in football games, you win. Even in football games that you win, the quarterback stat line has been mediocre or lower for the past multiple seasons under Kevin Stefanski. Going through all of these guys, going through a Deshaun Watson, going through a Bailey Zappi, going through a Joe Flacco, a Dillon Gabriel, all these different players. It doesn't matter who's under center. If the play calling sucks, if the offense isn't creative, it doesn't matter who is handling the football. Let's see what we got going on in chat here. Appreciate everyone tuning in so far. Jake D, I was cheering for that loss at this point, honestly, not even being negative. The season completely over. I'm 100% with you. It's just embarrassing that like it's week 10 or 9 or whatever, and we're already here. It's expected. It's not totally surprising. I mean, you had 3 wins last year. 3 wins is looking like the top of the ticket here this year for the Browns. I expect them to win one more game, maybe at most, maybe luckily. And I thought this was your one game to win. But yeah, the funny part, Jake, is that this has been their strategy all along. They had no clear plan coming into this regular season. That's what disgusts me the most, is that, you know, they tell us all off season, we got this and that. And I would have loved to be on a fly on the wall to hear the conversations that allegedly were had, that Myles Garrett runs to the podium after signing a big extension, goes, oh yeah, we got a plan. What did they tell him? I would love to know what they told him. I would pay good money to be like, hey, what was said to you in this conversation? Because either 1, you're dumb, or 2, they lied. Those are your only options there, because there was no plan. If you're telling me, and you could convince me, I'll assign this a 1% chance. There was maybe a 1% chance that they thought they could rehabilitate Kenny Pickett. I'm talking months ago at this point, guys. I'm not talking what we know now. I'm talking what we know months ago. There was maybe a 1% chance that somebody, whether it was Andrew Berry or Kevin Stefanski or God forbid Jimmy and Dee Haslam, thought, okay, we can rehabilitate Kenny Pickett. Kevin Stefanski is a good offensive mind, and you've seen this revitalization of quarterbacks throughout the league in recent years. The Baker Mayfields of the world, funnily enough, the Sam Darnolds of the world, the Daniel Joneses of the world this year. Maybe they thought they could actually do that. Maybe they were drinking the Kool-Aid and they had good intentions, that was a realistic scenario. Like I said, 1% chance. All the other outcomes and options lead you to where we are right here. That's the startling part. After Pickett gets hurt in the preseason, okay, now we have to default to Flacco. We wasted a draft pick on Dillon Gabriel. It's time to just call a spade a spade. Wasted a draft pick on this guy, a short, undersized, unathletic, left-handed quarterback who's started 60 games in college, and he looks like he's never played football until this year. Plain and simple. Wasted a draft pick on him. That's number 1. Number 2, what was your backup plan besides that? You think Shedeur Sanders, who was, actually fairly accurate in college, but still had some questionable decision-making from a quarterback, stuff we saw in the preseason, taking 23-plus yard sacks, did we really think that he was going to be the saving grace? Did we really think that a 41-year-old Joe Flacco is going to be a saving grace? And yes, he's looked better in the Cincinnati Bengals offense, but I hope he would look a little bit better throwing the ball to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and, having actually maybe a competent running game compared to Jerry Jeudy, the worst wide receiver in the National Football League this calendar year. That's all I have to say. So they were lying to us from the jump. They never had a plan. The plan was to shut Myles the hell up, lie to the fan base every year like they're so good at doing, and then put a below average product onto the field that they knew was going to be below average, hoard up all these draft picks and mail it in for the whole year, and we'll turn around and we'll reconvene for next year. You can't convince me that the Haslams didn't sit down at some undisclosed location over expensive cuts of meat with Stefanski and Andrew Berry and said, look, this is the game plan. Maybe they even apologized. Maybe they said, oh, we screwed you guys over so bad with the Watson deal. I hope you guys could forgive us, because the city of Cleveland, we don't really take big swings. If you want to give them an ounce of respect, we don't really take big swings. They tried. We thought they were there, a quarterback away. The decision-making with Watson wasn't there. It wasn't smart. It hasn't worked out. It's totally backfired in our face. I think that's why a lot of people, me included, rightfully so, give a guy like Kobe Altman a lot of credit. He took a swing on Donovan Mitchell. Cleveland sports franchises don't do that. The Dolans have been paying the same minimum salaries and, Austin Hedges, and just hoping that the farm system has been good since I've been alive. Granted, they're the best run organization in the city consistently year over year. I'm not disputing that, but it's Cleveland sports. Been saying 2 seasons now, fire Stefanski. I think you got to move on, in my opinion. If I was running the show, I'd move on. There's no confidence to keep him. I mean, the offense is terrible. We're unprepared every week. He's not a great head coach So here's the thing. I thought he was a great offensive mind until about halfway through last year. 2 coach of the years, yada, 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 multiple playoff, appearances. I could give him the benefit of the doubt. He was never a great head coach. Operational, organizational, coaching the defense, coaching the special teams, making sure that the team, works as a consistent unit. He was never good at that. He was never great at that. That's why you bring in a guy like Jim Schwartz, who has former head coaching experience. So you could be like, hey, I'm not even going to talk to the defense. How much do you think Kevin Stefanski really talks to the defense? He sits in on meetings that Schwartz runs. I mean, dude, we can't even understand that the Jets are going to run a fake at the end of this game and they draw us offsides anyway. We can't even understand that, regardless of whose fault it is. Who would you take number 1 overall? I'll take Caleb Downs from Ohio State and play a lot. No. Caleb Downs at number 1 overall. Bailey, I don't think so. I don't know. That's the thing. Do you even want to be number 1? I don't even want this regime and this unit to be number 1 because you know how it goes. It's probably a quarterback at that point. They probably get baited into taking a quarterback. Mendoza or Ty Simpson or Dante Moore, whoever. Do we think any of these guys are really that good for a first overall draft selection? I would probably take Carnell Tate at 1 over Caleb Downs. That might be a hot take. That might sound crazy. I mean, this team doesn't need defense at 1 would be really crazy, in my opinion. And I hear where you're coming from, Bailey. I understand. Caleb Downs is going to be a really good NFL player, but no, they have all these picks that like the first 4 picks of this draft should be offense. There's really no other way to go about doing it. I don't care about best pick. You have to throw all these norms away. When you're a laughing stock of the league and you're going to have 5, 6, or 7 combined wins in the last 2 seasons. Oh, best player available. You know who came up with the saying best player available? General managers who could construct a roster and put together a coaching staff that could win football games. That's what best player available really means. People take it out of context and think that just should do that at all, at every available metric. No, you have to pick for needs at this point. Not BPA is when you have a Mahomes, when you have a Josh Allen, when you have a Jamar Chase, when you have these offensive juggernauts that can't be denied. We don't have any of those guys. And I like Judkins, but we don't have we don't have anybody like that. We haven't had anybody like that in years, to be truthfully honest with you, since Nick Chubb was healthy last. And really, you need a quarterback to be able to really truthfully do that in good faith. Best player available. You got to go wide receiver, quarterback, tackle, guard, some combination of that in the first 4 picks. It's really a non-negotiable at this point, which actually makes Andrew Berry's job a little bit easier if he could wisen up and figure it out. And maybe he doesn't have D. Podesta in his ear yapping from the West Coast, eating his tofu and his ramen because he's actually working on the Rockies organization this upcoming off season. Probably the best thing that's happened all Brown season this year is D. Podesta leaving and going to the Rockies. That's the only positive I could take away from this year, besides some of the rookies and seeing how they play. And everybody who wants to say and talk to me and, put up on X and social media that D. Podesta, he was the boogeyman. He was the boogeyman of this organization. He was the scapegoat. Fans need somewhere to point, and, he really didn't have much to do with the team. He was a processes guy. He wasn't even the analytics guy. Whether you know it or not, if you were saying that, whether you know it or not, you are a paid mouthpiece for this Cleveland Browns organization and Haslam Sports Group. You're probably getting checks from them in the mail, allegedly, because you can't sit here and lie to me and say that D. Podesta wasn't a big part of how this strategic thinking went for this front office and for this ownership group. Okay? Let's move on. How much does he talk to anyone in regard to Stefanski? His players have no fight for a minimum left row, 2 special team touchdowns. Bubba Ventrone. I'm 15 minutes in and I can't. Bubba Ventrone should be gone. See ya. Shouldn't see you next week. Fire him tomorrow. Why are you going to wait until the offseason for the special teams coach? Fire him now, make the position available, and get the longest run up to be able to fill the position in the offseason. Should not. We have parted ways with Bubba Ventrone. Should be the first thing I see on my Twitter timeline tomorrow when I open up the app from the Browns official account. Oh, well, who cares? This is the worst coordinators coach in the league. A kickoff return for a touchdown and a punt return for a touchdown in the same game? In a game where you lose by a score? Get him off the team, man. Get him off the payroll. He should be taking orders at the local drive-through fast food restaurant. I don't even know if he could do that successfully. I'll probably get him, my order will be wrong. Probably give me a medium fry instead of a large because he's not an attention to detail oriented guy. He's not. If he were, you wouldn't be giving up points on special teams with kickoffs and punt returns. AB going to trade down. AB, maybe so. It worked this year. I'm not against the trade down because it worked good this year so far. Small sample size. It's fine though. But I mean, if you trade down from a Mendoza and he's an all-pro quarterback as a rookie, hell no, you don't take downs or any QB in this tar class. Safety don't make a difference in the NFL. So I don't want to go that far. Like a good safety play definitely could be a difference maker in the NFL. It's not that premier defensive position like a defensive end, like a cornerback, and I don't know. I agree with you, Jake D. I see where Bailey's coming from, so I'm not going to give him too much heat for that because there's good arguments on both sides. Like I said, Caleb Downs is going to be a good NFL player, but like I would almost rather have a premier linebacker than a safety. Would you rather have Schlesinger or Delpit? Now, I get that's kind of a loaded question because Schlesinger's younger and you have more control over it. Like, I get there's other factors there, but it's like Schlesinger does a lot more for the defense than Delpit, in my opinion, and he's a rookie. And that's not Delpit's fault. Delpit's a good football player. He is, but I mean, when you're a safety, you only have so many jobs. You know, we actually use Delpit pretty multifaceted as a safety. He comes down and blitzes a lot. Hull Oates over on X. Appreciate you for tuning in, my guy. What's up, Paul? I said, sadly sarcastic, missed the game to go to the movies instead. 2 special teams. How is Bubba still employed? Hull Oates, what movie did you go see? Because that sounds lovely. A nice Sunday matinee at the movie theater. Hopefully you got a large popcorn. You put your own butter on it. You salted it to your liking. Hopefully you got a medium diet soda, maybe some candy, maybe some sweet, maybe some sour candy, some sweet chocolate. Sounds like a really good time. I'm actually super, super happy for you because you missed absolutely nothing missing this football game. The movies, at least you get a cultural experience. You get a cinematic vibe. You get exactly what you paid for. Hopefully if you watch the trailers and you know what you're getting yourself into, you kind of know what you're paying for in the movies. You never get that with the Browns. Well, actually, no, I know what I'm paying for, but I'm paying for shit. So I'm contradicting myself, but at least at the movies, you get a nice time out, you have a good time and it's like, oh, cool. I get to go out and go to the movies. I don't have to sit here and watch Bubba Ventrone for whatever reason, not be able to cover up a punt. How is he still employed? I have no idea. Send Ventrone to Swenson's. They mess up. Not trying to rag on the local businesses, but I mean, hey, if Swenson's, if anyone's out there, if you're messing up Jake D's order, stop it. Stop it. Just get him what he wants. Safety makes a difference. Well, fair enough. I mean, yeah, if you have kind of tough to argue with that, but it's like, how do you really fix this team? If you're the Haslams, right, and you have no intention of moving on from Andrew Berry, you have no intentions of moving on from Kevin Stefanski, if you have no intentions of even trying to give Shedeur Sanders some live game reps, I don't know what to tell you. You're going to take 3. So you're telling me in the straight face that there's a % chance that this front office and this team is going to take 3 quarterbacks in 2 drafts. Really? And what are the chances that any of them are going to be good? Dillon Gabriel is not a good football player. He's not. And it's not, project development, blah, blah. What are you developing? He's not growing anymore. His arm strength isn't going to get any better magically. He can do all the plyo balls and all the kettlebell work he could ever want. His arm isn't getting any stronger. He started 62 games in college. What are you developing? He doesn't have the processing skills. He doesn't have the athleticism. He holds onto the ball too long. The best thing I've seen from the guy probably in all of his starts was today when he actually figured out that he could scramble a little bit and run for first downs. And a lot of that with the Jets playing prevent defense so they don't give up a lot. I don't know why. How long of a player are you going to give up against the Browns offense? 35, 40 yards? We can't throw the football any further. Our wide receivers can't run routes any deeper. I don't understand why they're playing this defense where take the top away for why? He can't throw the ball that far. Even the touchdown to Judy, rolling the, it's all bad. It's all bad. The Tommy Rees offense is just as questionable as Stefanski. Stefanski doesn't have the guys ready to play. Stupid mistakes, just not having understood the assignment as a coaching unit, whether it's Schwartz or whether it's Stefanski. Devin Bush, a holding call on a 3rd and 16 and the guy's on a 6-yard route, you hold him. Like, is this our first day at work? Is this the first time that you've had to consciously think about decisions and, execute them in your whole life? Ugh, so disgusting. Let's see what's going on next for these guys and see if there's any chance that we're going to win another football game the rest of the year. We got the Ravens at home next week. That's a 425 outfit. I'm sure we will not win that game. We play the Raiders on the road. They're not very good, but we don't really play good in Las Vegas. We haven't so far. That's a 405 game on the 23rd. Then November 30th, the 49ers are in town. Stefanski will most likely get out-coached there. Here's the only game on my sights that I could see us winning the rest of the year, and that is the Titans game at home. We play Tennessee on December 7th. That game might truly determine the first overall pick in the 2026 NFL draft. So that game will be worth watching. Then we have the Bears on the road. We have the Bills at home. We're not winning either of those games. This December 28th game at home against the Steelers would be interesting to win if we could affect their playoff position. I'm all for playing spoilers here. And then we play the Bengals the last week of the season at a to be determined January 4th time slot. And if we're all being honest, they should put that game at 9 a.m. because why would you waste any other time slot on these fools? I get Andrew Barron's Kevin Stefanski. Hopefully Jimmy Haslam hires a coach that can, who are your options? You're going to go back to Robert Saleh? I'm on board for getting rid of Stefanski too, but it's like, is this offseason coaching class going to be really good? What do you want to do? Shuffle the deck chairs for Mike McDaniel? Like I said, Robert Saleh, is he your best option? Are there coordinators out there that maybe are ready to make a move that are kind of under the radar and we haven't really talked about all year? I don't know, but it's a mess. And it's not getting better anytime soon. Like, I don't see, at least, the Jags lost. Nice. Let's go, Ashen. Yes, correct. That's the thing too. Like, you could have 2 top 10 picks this year upcoming. So that can turn a franchise around. It has in the past, but just doesn't seem plausible for the Browns. Just doesn't seem likely. We'll use one of them on a quarterback and there'll be a bust, and Carnell Tater, he'll show flashes of being prominent, but now we just can't get him the football, or we can't block downfield. You need 2 tackles. You need 2 tackles and a guard, in my opinion. Maybe you could get somebody signed in the offseason, and that's, still relying on Wyatt Teller, who I believe is going to be 32 or 33 years old, which is pretty old for an NFL offensive lineman. But he's really the only guy I would consider bringing back to this unit. And I didn't think it could get much worse than Jedrick Wills, and somehow it has. Jedrick Wills would be playing on this offensive line. Not saying I'm like advocating. I was advocating for him to stay. I was the first person to say, get that bum off the roster, but he would very much be playing. Probably a lot. Probably be hurt, honestly, because the dude was always hurt. Another walking injury designation. So it's whatever. It's a 7-point loss today. They lose in typical Cleveland Browns fashion, not being prepared, doing stupid shit all game. Kickoff return for a touchdown, punt return for a touchdown. But nothing's going to happen. Stefanski is going to come to the podium. I understand the question. If anybody in the Browns media wants to do their job, they would ask, is Bubba Ventrone on the hot seat? They're not going to ask that because nobody really does investigative journalism for the team anymore. I see better work on X and on Instagram than a lot of people that I see in the press room, and that's no fault to them. I'm sure it's not as easy as I'm making it seem. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's like, hey, my thing is, Stefanski, you need to be held responsible and accountable for the some of the coaching being terrible. Ventrone, you should be held, your feet should be held to the fire for that. You cannot sit here and convince me that Andrew Berry is, has more of a decision-making hiring the coordinators than the head coach does. If that's the case, the organizational hierarchical structure is wrong. Joe Woods? Who let Joe Woods hang around for too long? Back when you had a serviceable offense, Joe Woods hung you out to dry every week. Now Jim Schwartz actually could coach guys up and you can't score. And your special teams coach can't even cover up plays, can't even cover up kickoffs, can't even cover up punt returns. So that's the first question when you come to, oh, hey guys, okay, well, he goes over his injuries. Oh, well, he had an injury and he's questionable and he'll be day to day. First question, hey, is Bubba Ventrone's job in jeopardy? Actually, it's a two-parter. I'd go like this, and he'd call on me, Jeffrey. Hey, Kevin, I got a two-parter for you. Number one, is Bubba Ventrone's job in jeopardy? Number two, do you feel like you should be taking any accountability or be held responsible for hiring him? I wouldn't need to question the rest of the presser. I would actually stand up and leave after he asked it. Rude as that may seem, because I don't need to hear anything else. What else can you pull away from this game? A 27-20 victory against the team that one of the only teams that has a worse record than you. That just had a fire sale all week, by the way. That just got rid of Sauce Gardner and got rid of Quinnen Williams. You walked into a East Rutherford, New Jersey, MetLife Stadium against the team with a worse record than you that is saying punting on the whole season, acquiring draft picks, getting rid of their top echelon players, and you couldn't even beat them. It goes back to what I said in the beginning, though. They didn't want to win this game. There's no benefit for the Browns winning this game. From an objective and non-biased standpoint, I can understand that. It's still disrespectful to the fans. It's still disrespectful to people that sit down and watch the games, in my opinion. All right, if you've been here, appreciate you guys listening to me rant every week with this team. Something new happens, something crazy and something stupid. They can't even stay on sides and they can't even get the ball back to try and tie up the game and go 27-27. Obviously, they were never going to do that. Dillon Gabriel was not going to lead them down the field with 60 seconds left on the clock and no timeouts to a game-tying touchdown, unless somebody on the Jets defense fell over and it was just a busted play. So, yeah, I mean, not too surprising of an outcome here. They have an opportunity for 1 or 2 more wins on the season. And yeah, you're looking at probably back-to-back 3-win seasons, maybe 4 wins if you're lucky this year. But good news is, guys, Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz got indicted, or whatever happened to him. So if it wasn't bad enough for a Sunday in Cleveland, the Guardians, the baseball season even session, and the Guardians are upsetting me because screw those guys, allegedly, if true, what they're being accused is true. All right, that's fine. But the Cavs are here. Good comeback victory last night against the red hot Chicago Bulls. Stuff we'll actually enjoy talking about in the future. Cavaliers talk. This Browns outfit is what? Just terrible. I'll come on and react every week, if I could sit down and watch the games. But besides that, they're not getting any more willpower out of me. But I appreciate you guys taking time to not only watch the Browns, but watch me after the fact. If you're here, hit that like button, comment down below anything that I missed. Do you think they're going to fire Kevin Stefanski or Andrew Berry? And I appreciate you being the pulse of it all. Peace.